All right, let's get real for a moment. We're diving into something today that most people avoid talking about, but if you're here, if you're really on this spiritual path, you already know that pain is a part of it. Not just any pain, but the kind of pain that changes you, that transforms you at the core of your being. The question we're going to explore is, what are the most valuable pains in your spiritual journey? And by the time we're done, you'll understand why those moments that hurt the most are actually the ones that carry the greatest wisdom. Let's be honest, when you start walking the spiritual path, no one tells you how much it's going to hurt. They talk about enlightenment, about bliss, about awakening, but rarely do people tell you about the pain that comes before all of that. And if you're one of the chosen ones, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've experienced it. Maybe you're in the middle of it right now. But here's the thing, pain is the doorway to your deepest transformation. It's the ultimate teacher. The first kind of pain we need to talk about is the pain of separation. And I don't just mean separation from people or relationships, although that's part of it. I'm talking about the existential pain of feeling separated from something greater than yourself, from the divine, from your true purpose. There's a moment in every spiritual journey where you feel lost, where you feel like the universe has abandoned you. It's like you're standing in the middle of a vast desert with no direction, no guidance. You look around and wonder, where is the connection I once felt? Where is the light? This is the pain of the dark night of the soul.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
But here's the deep question: what if this feeling of separation is actually an invitation? What if the very thing that feels like abandonment is the universe's way of asking you to go deeper, to look within instead of outside yourself for answers? You see, the pain of separation forces you to question everything. It strips away all the illusions you've built about who you are and what life is supposed to be. It's brutal, yes, but it's also necessary. Without this pain, you wouldn't be motivated to seek a deeper truth. The feeling of being separate from the divine is what drives you to reconnect in a more authentic way. It's what pushes you to realize that the connection was never lost, it was just obscured by layers of ego and false beliefs. Now, let's talk about the pain of letting go. This one is tough because it's not just about releasing things that no longer serve you. It's about letting go of parts of yourself that you've held onto for so long, you don't even realize they're weighing you down. It could be a belief system, an identity, or a way of seeing the world. And when you let go of these parts of yourself, it feels like a death. There's no other way to describe it. You grieve. You feel like you're losing a part of who you are. But in reality, you're shedding a layer of yourself that was never truly you in the first place. But here's the real challenge. Are you willing to let go of who you think you are to become who you're meant to be? Because that's what the spiritual journey demands of you. It's not about adding more layers of knowledge or wisdom, it's about stripping away everything that's not true. And that process is painful. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, and with each layer, tears come. But with each layer you shed, you get closer to your true essence. The next pain we need to explore is the pain of facing your shadow. This is the part of the journey where you come face to face with all the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. The anger, the fear, the jealousy, the insecurity, all the things you buried deep within yourself start to rise to the surface. And let me tell you, it's uncomfortable, it's messy, but it's also one of the most valuable experiences you can have on your spiritual path. Because until you face your shadow, you can't integrate it. And until you integrate it, you can't truly be whole. Here's a question for you. Are you brave enough to look at the parts of yourself that you've been hiding from? Because that's where the real growth happens. The pain of facing your shadow is the pain of seeing yourself clearly, without the masks, without the stories you've told yourself to feel better. It's raw, it's real. But it's also liberating. Once you face your shadow, you realize that those parts of yourself aren't as scary as you thought. They're just aspects of your humanity that need love and acceptance. And when you can love those parts of yourself, you free yourself from the need to project them onto others. Now, let's talk about the pain of surrender. This is the pain of realizing that, no matter how much you try to control your life, you're not in charge. The universe has its own plan, and it's often very different from the one you've created in your mind. There comes a point in every spiritual journey where you have to surrender. You have to let go of your need for control, your need to know how everything is going to unfold, and that's terrifying. It's like stepping off a cliff into the unknown, trusting that something will catch you, even though you can't see it. But here's the thing about surrender: it's only painful because you're resisting it. The moment you stop fighting, the moment you allow yourself to trust the flow of life, the pain starts to dissolve. You realize that you were never really in control anyway. And that's the paradox: the more you surrender, the more you align with the flow of the universe, and the more things start to fall into place naturally. But surrender requires faith. It requires a deep trust in the process, even when you can't see the outcome. So, here's the final question for this part. Are you willing to surrender to the unknown? Because that's what the spiritual journey asks of you. It asks you to trust that, even in the midst of pain, even when everything seems to be falling apart, there's a deeper intelligence at work. And if you can trust that, if you can surrender to it, the pain becomes your greatest ally. It becomes the catalyst for your transformation. Alright, so we've talked about the value of pain in your spiritual journey, but now we're going to dive deeper into how pain itself transforms you. This is where the real magic happens. The process of turning pain into something valuable, something powerful, is what we call alchemy. Spiritual alchemy isn't about turning lead into gold in the physical sense. It's about transforming the heavy, painful experiences of life into spiritual gold. It's about taking the raw material of suffering and using it to fuel your awakening, your growth, and your ultimate purpose. Let's start with this. Do you believe that your pain has purpose? This is one of the most important questions you can ask yourself. Because if you believe that your pain is just random, that it's there to punish you, or because life is unfair, you'll stay stuck in it. But when you start to see your pain as a tool for transformation, everything changes. You stop running from it. You stop trying to numb it or avoid it. Instead, you start to lean into it, to understand it, to see what it's trying to teach you. This is the beginning of alchemy. One of the first steps in this process is learning to embrace your pain. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. Most of us have been conditioned to think of pain as something to avoid at all costs. We distract ourselves, we numb ourselves, we try to escape. But here's the truth: pain is inevitable. Suffering is inevitable. It's a part of life. But what if, instead of running from it, you embraced it? What if you allowed yourself to fully feel it, to fully experience it, without judgment, without resistance? Here's a deep question for you: what happens when you stop resisting your pain and start accepting it? Think about that for a moment. Pain is only unbearable when we're fighting it, when we're trying to push it away. But when we allow it to be there, when we stop judging it as bad, something incredible happens. It starts to lose its power over us. It starts to transform. And in that transformation, we begin to see the deeper wisdom that pain holds for us. Now, Let's talk about why pain is such a powerful catalyst for transformation. The reason pain is so valuable is because it breaks you open. It shatters the walls you've built around yourself, the illusions you've created to protect yourself. Pain forces you to confront the truth about yourself, about your life, about the world. And while that truth can be uncomfortable, even devastating, it's also what sets you free. It's what allows you to grow. Think about it this way: when everything is going smoothly in your life, how much are you really growing? Sure, you might be learning new things, but real growth, deep transformation, doesn't usually happen when life is easy. It happens when life is hard. It happens when you're facing challenges, when you're in the midst of a crisis. That's when you're forced to dig deep, to find strength and wisdom you didn't even know you had. Pain is the fire that burns away everything that's not true, everything that's not aligned with your highest self. But here's the thing: transformation doesn't happen automatically. Just because you're going through pain doesn't mean you're going to grow from it. You have to make a conscious choice to use your pain as a tool for growth. You have to be willing to look at it, to sit with it, and to ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Because pain is always a teacher. It's always showing you something about yourself, something that needs to be healed, something that needs to be released. Let me ask you another question: what is the pain in your life asking you to let go of? Because every pain, every struggle is an opportunity to let go of something that's no longer serving you. Maybe it's an old belief system, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a way of thinking or being in the world. Whatever it is, pain is always pointing you towards something that needs to change. And when you're willing to let go, when you're willing to surrender, that's when the transformation begins. Now, let's get practical for a moment. How do you actually transform your pain? How do you turn it into something valuable, something that fuels your spiritual growth? The first step is to allow yourself to feel it fully. This is so important, and yet it's something most of us avoid. We live in a culture that encourages us to distract ourselves from pain, to numb it with food, with entertainment, with work, with substances. But if you want to transform your pain, you have to be willing to feel it. You have to be willing to sit with it, to let it wash over you without trying to push it away. The second step is to look for the lesson. Every painful experience is a teacher. Every struggle, every challenge is there to show you something about yourself. But you have to be willing to look. You have to be willing to ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? What is the deeper lesson here? And don't just ask these questions on the surface. Go deep. Be willing to explore the pain, to see what lies beneath it. Maybe it's showing you an old wound that needs healing. Maybe it's revealing a limiting belief that's been holding you back. Whatever it is, the lesson is always there, but you have to be willing to look for it. The third step is to release what no longer serves you. Once you've identified the lesson, once you've understood what the pain is showing you, the next step is to let go. Let go of the old beliefs, the old patterns, the old ways of being that are no longer aligned with your highest self. This is where the real transformation happens. Because when you let go of what's no longer serving you, you make space for something new. You create room for growth, for expansion, for deeper wisdom and understanding. And finally, the fourth step is to integrate the wisdom. Once you've gone through the process of feeling the pain, identifying the lesson, and letting go, the final step is to integrate the wisdom you've gained. This means applying what you've learned to your life. It means making different choices, living in a way that's more aligned with your true self. Because transformation isn't just about having a spiritual experience, it's about changing the way you live, the way you show up in the world. So, here's the question I want to leave you with. Are you willing to embrace your pain as a tool for transformation? Because pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You get to choose whether you use your pain to grow, to evolve, to become more of who you truly are. And when you make that choice, when you embrace your pain instead of running from it, you unlock the doorway to your highest potential. We've explored how pain can be transformed into wisdom, but now we're going deeper. We're going to talk about rebirth, the process of rising from the ashes of your struggles, your heartbreak, your darkest moments, and stepping into your true power. If you're on this journey, if you're one of the chosen ones, then you know this spiritual path isn't just about surviving pain, it's about using it to fuel your rebirth into something greater, something more aligned with your highest self. But here's the thing, rebirth isn't automatic. It's not something that just happens to you because you've been through pain. It's a conscious choice, a deliberate act of creation. It requires you to take everything you've learned from your struggles and use it to rebuild yourself, not as the person you were before, but as the person you were always meant to be. The person who's no longer defined by their wounds, but by their wisdom. Let me ask you this, are you ready to rise? Because rebirth is about stepping into a new version of yourself, one that's no longer carrying the weight of the past, one that's no longer defined by the pain you've experienced. And that takes courage. It takes immense commitment. The ashes of your old self can be comforting in a strange way because they're familiar, but rising from them requires you to let go of the identity you've built around your pain and step into the unknown. So, how do you begin this process of rebirth? It starts with one powerful decision, the decision to no longer be a victim of your circumstances. You see, every painful experience you've gone through has the potential to either trap you in a cycle of suffering or to liberate you into a higher state of consciousness. The difference lies in whether you choose to see yourself as a victim or as the creator of your reality. Victimhood keeps you stuck. It keeps you in the mindset that life is happening to you, that you have no control, that you're powerless. But when you shift into the mindset of a creator, you realize that life is happening for you. Every experience, even the most painful ones, are opportunities for growth, for evolution, for rebirth. Here's a deep question for you. What would your life look like if you stopped seeing yourself as a victim? Take a moment to really think about that. If you stopped blaming your circumstances, your past, the people who hurt you, what would change? Because the moment you stop identifying with your pain, you reclaim your power. You realize that yes, painful things have happened to you, but they do not define you. And more importantly, they do not determine your future. Rebirth also requires you to embrace the unknown. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They're willing to let go of their old self, but they're afraid of what comes next. They're afraid of stepping into a new version of themselves because they don't know what that will look like. And the unknown is scary. But here's the truth, the unknown is where all possibilities exist. It's where your greatest potential lies, and the only way to access it is to step into it without needing to know exactly how everything is going to unfold. So, here's the challenge. Are you willing to embrace the unknown? Are you willing to step into the void, to trust that something greater is waiting for you on the other side, even though you can't see it yet? This is what rebirth is all about. It's about trusting that the old must die for the new to be born. And yes, there's a period of uncertainty, a period where you feel like you're in free fall, but this is where the magic happens. This is where you start to realize that you're not falling, you're flying. Another key element of rebirth is forgiveness. This is something that's often misunderstood on the spiritual path, but it's absolutely essential. Forgiveness isn't about condoning what happened to you. It's not about saying that the pain you experienced was okay. It's about releasing the emotional charge, the anger, the resentment, the bitterness that's been holding you back. Because as long as you hold on to those emotions, you're still tied to the past. You're still carrying the weight of your old self, and you can't rise if you're weighed down by the past. Let me ask you, who or what do you need to forgive in order to rise? It could be a person, a situation, or even yourself. Because sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself for the mistakes you've made, for the ways you believe you failed. But if you want to be reborn, you have to let go of that. You have to forgive yourself for all the times you didn't know better, for all the times you acted from a place of pain rather than wisdom. Forgiveness is the key to freedom, and freedom is the foundation of your rebirth. Now, the final piece of rebirth is reclaiming your power. This isn't just about feeling powerful, it's about recognizing that you are the creator of your reality. It's about taking full responsibility for your life, for your thoughts, for your actions. And this is where many people struggle, because it's easier to blame others, to blame circumstances, to blame life for what's gone wrong. But when you reclaim your power, you stop blaming. You stop looking outside of yourself for solutions, and you start realizing that everything you need is already within you. So, here's a powerful question for you. Where in your life have you given away your power? Maybe it's in a relationship. Maybe it's in your job. Maybe it's in the way you talk to yourself, the way you've been doubting your worth. Reclaiming your power means taking back control of your life. It means no longer allowing other people or external circumstances to dictate how you feel, how you think, or how you show up in the world. Rebirth is not a one-time event. It's a process. It's a continual unfolding of your highest potential. Every time you go through pain, every time you face a challenge, you're given the opportunity to be reborn. You're given the chance to rise from the ashes of who you were and step into the truth of who you are. And that truth is powerful. That truth is divine. That truth is limitless. So, I'll leave you with this final question for this part. Are you ready to rise from the ashes? Because the moment you decide that you are, the moment you commit to your rebirth, nothing can stop you. You are the creator of your reality. You are the one who holds the power to transform your pain into purpose, your suffering into strength, your darkness into light. And when you rise, you not only transform your own life, you inspire others to rise with you. We've traveled through the depths of pain, transformation, and rebirth, and now we arrive at the ultimate destination, ascension. This is where you step fully into your power as one of the chosen ones and begin to live out your soul's mission. Everything you've been through, the struggles, the heartbreaks, the losses, has led you to this moment. But what does it really mean to live as a chosen one? And how do you fulfill the mission that your soul came here to complete? Let's start with what it means to be a chosen one. Being chosen isn't about being better than anyone else or being more special. It's about being awakened to a higher level of consciousness. It's about knowing deep in your bones that you're here for a purpose. You're here to help raise the vibration of the planet, to bring more light into the world, to live as a beacon of truth and love. But this mission isn't something that's handed to you on a silver platter. It's something you have to earn through your own growth, through your own inner work, through your own transformation. And here's the truth: your mission is already within you. It's not something you have to go out and find. It's not some grand, distant goal that's separate from who you are. Your mission is woven into the very fabric of your soul. It's in the way you show up in the world, the way you interact with others, the way you express your unique gifts and talents. The challenge is to recognize it, to trust it, and to live it. Here's a deep question for you. What does your soul already know about your mission? If you're quiet enough, if you listen deeply enough, you already know why you're here, but we often get distracted. We let the noise of the world drown out the voice of our soul. We let fear, doubt, and insecurity cloud our vision. But the moment you start to listen, really listen, you'll hear the whisper of your soul guiding you toward your mission. Now, living as a chosen one doesn't mean your life will be free from challenges. In fact, it's often the opposite. The more you step into your mission, the more resistance you'll face, both from the outside world and from within yourself. But this resistance is not something to fear. It's a sign that you're moving in the right direction. It's a sign that you're stepping into your power, and that power naturally stirs things up. Here's another truth: the world needs the unique light that only you can bring. This isn't just about fulfilling some personal goal or experiencing spiritual bliss for yourself. It's about service. It's about recognizing that your mission is not just for you. It's for the collective. It's for the world. You've been given these experiences, these lessons, this wisdom, not just for your own growth, but so that you can share it, so that you can be a force for healing, for truth, for transformation in the lives of others. And that brings us to a crucial point. How do you serve the world as a chosen one? This doesn't necessarily mean you need to become a spiritual teacher or a healer. It doesn't mean you need to quit your job and move to a monastery. Your mission can be fulfilled in the smallest of moments, in the simplest of actions. It could be the way you show kindness to a stranger, the way you bring love and compassion into your relationships, the way you create art, the way you lead in your career. The key is to show up fully, to live authentically, and to be guided by love in everything you do. So, let me ask you this: how can you start living your mission right now, in this moment? Because your mission isn't something that's waiting for you in the future. It's something that's available to you right now, in each and every moment. It's in the choices you make, the energy you bring, and the way you show up in the world. When you live with intention, when you live with purpose, when you live in alignment with your soul, you are fulfilling your mission. But here's the thing: fulfilling your mission takes courage. It requires you to step out of your comfort zone, to take risks, to follow the guidance of your soul, even when it doesn't make logical sense. It requires you to trust in the unknown, to trust that the universe is supporting you even when you can't see the full picture. It requires you to face your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, and to keep moving forward anyway. The final step of ascension is embodiment. This is where you take everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, and you embody it in your daily life. You live the wisdom you've gained. You don't just talk about spiritual concepts, you live them. You don't just think about your mission, you embody it. You become a walking example of what it means to live in alignment with your highest self. And this embodiment is what inspires others. It's what creates ripples of transformation in the world. Here's a final question for you: what does it mean for you to fully embody your truth? Because that's what ascension is. It's not about escaping this world or transcending your humanity. It's about being fully here, fully present, fully alive, and fully aligned with your soul. It's about bringing heaven to earth, expressing the divine through your human form, and living as the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. As a chosen one, your mission is not just to awaken yourself, but to help others awaken too. And you do that not by preaching or forcing your beliefs on others, but by living your truth so fully, so authentically, that it naturally inspires others to do the same. Your very presence becomes a source of healing, of inspiration, of change. You become a living example of what's possible when you align with your soul, when you embrace your power, and when you live your mission. So, I'll leave you with this final thought: you are here for a reason. You have a mission that only you can fulfill. The world needs your light, your gifts, your truth. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. You are ready now. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this. So rise. Step into your power. Live your mission. And in doing so, you will not only transform your own life, you will transform the world. That's it. This is your time. This is your ascension. Go out and live it.